Well, hello, and I must say this is not a very easy task I have before me. I've never recorded into an iPhone before, and certainly not having my own face about approximately 1 foot away, looking at it. Not a great sight. So I'm going to be reading most of what I have to say. Because I can't actually at the moment get my head around how you talk enthusiastically at your own face at 1 foot distance. Anyway, now it's not an easy time, so I wanted to give you some encouragement, and it's based, what I have to say, on Jesus' resurrection and one of his appearances to his disciples. And I'm aware that, of course, Easter Sunday has passed, but still, every Sunday commemorates Easter Sunday, so why not? Let's use these resurrection appearances to encourage ourselves. Now, I remember many years ago being on a fortnight's Christian mission to Salisbury. Each day, we used to meet in one of the local parish churches for prayer, worship and admin, and one day, early on in the mission, I felt I had a message for myself and other members of the team. The message was this: He is going before you into Galilee. There you will see him. This is in fact a quote from Mark's Gospel, chapter 16, verse 7, and in the context of the mission in Salisbury, we felt we were being told, you have a job to do, go out into the city, he is going ahead of you, and you'll see him in action there. This quote has often come back to me since. Jesus is always out there, ahead. But let's read the passage to give the original words some context. So here it is, Mark 16, verses 1 to 8. When the Sabbath was over, Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James, and Salome brought spices so that they might go to anoint Jesus' body. Very early on the first day of the week, just after sunrise, they were on their way to the tomb, and they asked each other, who will roll the stone away from the entrance of the tomb? But when they looked up, they saw that the stone, which was very large, had been rolled away. As they entered the tomb, they saw a young man dressed in a white robe sitting at the right side, and they were alarmed. Don't be alarmed, he said. You're looking for Jesus the Nazarene, who was crucified. He has risen. He's not here. See the place where they laid him. But go, tell his disciples and Peter, he is going ahead of you into Galilee. There you will see him, just as he told you. Trembling and bewildered, the women went out and fled from the tomb. They said nothing to anyone because they were afraid. So there it is. He is going ahead of you into Galilee. A natural question to ask is, why Galilee? And the answer is that in the New Testament context, that is where the disciples' homes were. That is where their work was. That was the focus of their everyday lives. And Jesus is going to meet them there in the middle of all that. But because the original ending of Mark's Gospel is lost, we have to turn to other Gospels to flesh that story out. If you turn to John's Gospel, you'll find in chapter 21, the first 14 verses, details of a very significant occasion when the risen Jesus met his disciples in Galilee. Here is the start of the story. Afterward, Jesus appeared again to his disciples by the Sea of Galilee. It happened this way. Simon Peter, Thomas, also known as Didymus, Nathanael from Cana in Galilee, the sons of Zebedee, and 2 other disciples were together. I'm going out to fish, Simon Peter told them. And they said, we'll go with you. So they went out and got into the boat, but that night they caught nothing. As one reads these verses, one gets the feeling that these 7 disciples may have been pretty dejected, trying to make sense of what had happened in Jerusalem. For even though they know Jesus has been resurrected, they don't have him with them anymore. And so they've reverted to their former lives, fishing. But a night's fishing trip has been a total failure, which must have made them even more depressed. How does the story continue? Well, here it goes. Early in the morning, Jesus stood on the shore, but the disciples didn't realize that it was Jesus. He called out to them, "Friends, haven't you any fish?" "No," they answered. He said, "Throw your net on the right side of the boat and you'll find some." When they did, they were unable to haul the net in because of the large number of fish. Jesus is not, of course, a professional fisherman. But his negative question, "Haven't you any fish?" makes it clear he already knows how unsuccessful they've been. But he also knows where the fish are. And the translation in the New English Bible gives Jesus' advice to the professional fisherman a strong nautical flavour. Here it is. "Shoot the net to the starboard," says Jesus, "and you'll make a catch." Great. Some months before, those disciples had already witnessed Jesus calming the storm on the Sea of Galilee and walking on the water. Now he is the one who is in control of its contents. Extraordinary. Back to the stories, John tells it. Then the disciple whom Jesus loved said to Peter, "It is the Lord." As soon as Simon Peter heard him say, "It is the Lord," he wrapped his outer garment around him, for he'd taken it off, and jumped into the water. The other disciples followed in the boat, towing the net full of fish, for they were not far from shore, about 100 yards. John, the disciple whom Jesus loved, and the writer of the Gospel, realizes that the figure on the beach is Jesus, but it's Peter who jumps out as fast as he can to get ashore. That's incidentally quite a brave move. The shore of the Sea of Galilee, where this incident is supposed to have happened, is pretty rugged, with many large stones, and he has 100 yards to go. One feels like saying, "Take it gently, Peter. However much of a hurry you may be in, if you're not careful, you'll hurt yourself, and it could be serious." Anyway, returning to John's account, when they landed, they saw a fire of burning coals there with fish on it, and some bread. Jesus said to them, "Bring some of the fish you've just caught." So Simon Peter climbed back into the boat and dragged the net ashore. It was full of large fish, 153, but even with so many the net was not torn. Jesus said to them, "Come and have breakfast." None of the disciples dared ask him, "Who are you?" They knew it was the Lord. Jesus came, took the bread and gave it to them, and did the same with the fish. So they get to shore, having recognized Jesus, and what do they find? Jesus already has some fish, and he has already cooked those fish ready for the disciples' breakfast. So he's already there ahead of them, looking after their needs. Moreover, the catch is huge. He can supply all that the disciples need and much, much more. And the catch is so huge it should have broken the net. But Jesus is in control of that detail too. The net remains intact. And then he takes bread and fish and distributes them to the disciples. You can imagine them recalling the scene of the feeding of the 5,000. Is there no end to this man's power and provision? So not only is he the one who calmed the storm on the Sea of Galilee, who walked on its water, who is in control of its contents, and can produce a catch far beyond what they would normally expect, but he knows their needs before they ask. And in case there is a problem, he can, of course, multiply bread and fishes to meet whatever need might arise. This is awe-inspiring. At a time when we feel our lives are out of control, this amazing story reminds us that Jesus is in control. At a time when we feel drained of our resources, it reminds us that he can provide more than we can need or can even imagine. Ponder this story and allow it to feed your spirit day by day, however long the lockdown may last. May you draw from it the encouragement that it is there to give. Amen.